What is going on, everybody? It's Brendan Abin coming to you with KBR Sports, the best sports talk show, your 24-hour day. Hopefully everybody's having a great day. Hopefully everybody's enjoying their day so far, and that everybody's embracing the 24 hours God's giving you, making the most of it. But before I get everything kicked off with the show, everybody, you already know how the saying goes when I kick this show off. Make sure that if you all ever wanted to go to a central location where you can find all Brendan Abin content, you can find that at my new website, brendanabin.com, which is spelled BRENDANABBAN.com, which has episodes of the podcast, my blog, and other content you can only find on brendanabin.com. So make sure you go check that out. And also follow and subscribe to the KBR Sports Podcast on Rabble TV, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. That way you will receive notifications whenever the KBR Sports Podcast is streaming live or when a new episode is posted. And also don't forget to follow the KBR Sports Podcast on Twitter at KBR_sports, where the links, topics, and podcast updates are tweeted. And finally, make sure you comment, like, and share your favorite KBR Sports episodes to give your opinions on any topic and to show your support for the show, which is always appreciated, everybody. So, like I was saying, hopefully everybody's making the most of the 24 hours that God has given them. I've realized sitting back that a lot of times people waste a lot of time doing things that are really unnecessary, and then a lot of people complain about how much time they have in the day to do certain things, and it really makes me kind of take a step back in some instances and wonder, do I do that at times? And now, of course, everybody does that at times. We don't all utilize our time to the best of the ability in every single moment of the day, so whether it be sometimes dwelling on social media too much, watching too much TV, just getting lost in space, texting, just doing these other things that aren't always conducive to what we need to get done in the day. But I do realize if you can minimize those times as much as possible, you could end up having the most productive day you possibly could. And I think that's a lot of people's problem, is that they don't know how to minimize that time, or they don't know how to really cut off the certain things in their life that are really detrimental to their success and have been holding them back for a long time. And I think if I have one message that I can get through to a lot of people at the beginning of this podcast when you first tune into this, is that make sure you make the most of your time, and don't let the little things that you think are significant hold you back from the bigger things that are more significant in the long term and bigger picture. Because I notice a lot of people fall for the short gain and the short term stuff, but if we look at the long term and the bigger things that matter and that aren't just temporary, we'll realize that, hey, life can be a lot less stressful if you just learn what to prioritize. But all right, everybody, let me get the show kicked off, because obviously the biggest news, and there's a big sports news, particularly in the NFL, that I'm about to get to. So let me kick everything off with this little thing I gotta say right quick. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of professional teams make is keeping things the same instead of pursuing change. Teams are most susceptible to making these mistakes after they have a great season or win a championship. No one ever brings the hammer down when teams do seek ways to make their team better, but rather they complement their aggressiveness. They envy their pursuit of putting the best versions of themselves out on the playing field. There was no criticism of the Golden State Warriors for acquiring Kevin Durant after the 73-9 season. Instead, many complimented them and the management staff for being able to pull off such a move and their dedication to always improving. Even when the news came out that they could possibly sign LeBron James this offseason, people were in awe of the possibilities and didn't put it past them after already signing Kevin Durant, because they showed that they're always willing to try and reinvent themselves in new ways and always trying to improve on what they had from the prior season. Well, then there's the NFL. The most notable team in recent history to be that aggressive in the free agent market and make the multiple big splash signings was the Philadelphia Eagles from 2011. While that team did not live up to the expectations that many had for them, because I remember they even were alluded to as the dream team by their own backup quarterback, Vince Young, few critiqued the team's aggressiveness in that offseason by going after guys like Anandi and such. That brings me to this year's Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams have made some of the NFL's biggest moves this offseason through being proactive and aggressive. They've acquired Marcus Peters, a two-time Pro Bowler and former first-team All-Pro, Aqib Talib, a five-time Pro Bowler and former first-team All-Pro, Ndamukong Suh, five-time Pro Bowler and three-time first-team All-Pro. This is a team that made its first trip to the playoffs since 2004 and had its first above 500 season since 2003. It would have been easy for them just to rest on their laurels and assume that things were going to be just as easy as last year and that they were going to obviously do better than they did last season, because last season was really their first year with their new coaching staff, with a new offensive line, some new pieces being put into the offensive line, but you get what I'm saying, a new regime for the most part. And the Rams didn't do that. They did the exact opposite and essentially revamped nearly the entire defense. A Los Angeles Rams defense, which was 28th against the run last season, 13th in passing yards. The Rams have made the biggest moves, but they got rid of guys like an Alec Ogletree. They got rid of draft picks. They made moves to go out and get big name guys because they realized, hey, our biggest weakness on defense was our run defense, and we can improve our pass defense. Them being 28th in the run, they got one of the best defensive linemen in the game in Ndamukong Suh, and are putting him next to the reigning defensive player of the year in Aaron Donald, who's arguably the best player in football, next to Aaron Rodgers, honestly. So when you see that this kind of aggression coming from the Rams, this is the kind of thing it takes to become a Super Bowl type team, to become a contender. Now, rings aren't given based on talent. No, rings are won based on the cohesiveness of that talent, the culture in the locker room, and everybody being bought in. And that's going to be huge for this Rams team, because the one big criticism everybody's had of all these moves being made for the Rams is that it's a lot of personalities to have in the locker room. And Ndamukong Suh, but in every one of his prior places he's always had this reputation of being a dirty player or being an undisciplined player by getting penalties or just doing little things that make people assume he's dirty. Aqib Talib has had a history. Marcus Peters had a history. And you see the Rams went out and got all these guys, but people are just wondering if their culture is strong enough that they can make it all blend together without really a hiccup in the progress they're already making. Now, this is when you see moves like this from a team like the Rams, best believe they're trying to win in this little window they have in the championship window. And for people who don't get what I'm saying, the championship window essentially for most teams that when their quarterback is on their rookie contract, like when Russell Wilson was on his rookie contract with the Seahawks, you notice the Seahawks were making their trips to the Super Bowl, and it was easy for them to keep their roster at its peak when they had their quarterback for cheap. Right now, in Russell Wilson, he was beyond the first round draft pick. He was late. He was after the first round. So he didn't even get the kind of money Jared Goff was getting. And that was when the Seahawks had an offensive line. They had a defense. They had a running game. They had wide receiver weapons for Russell Wilson to throw the ball to. So you see that when the quarterback is on that first contract, it is much easier for teams to be able to manage and build stuff around them because their quarterbacks are on way more affordable contracts, so they don't eat up so much of the salary cap. And right now, the Rams are in a funny position where they have Aaron Donald for one more year at a cheap rate. Then they have Todd Gurley Todd Gurley for 2 more years at a cheap rate. Then Jared Goff for 3 more years at a cheap rate. And they realize that this window is right here where they have to go out there and make the moves to go and get other quality talent either at a cheap rate, or if they can, get them at 1-year deals at a high price. Sort of with Ndamukong Suh. I mean, Ndamukong Suh didn't get the most money he could have gotten, but a 1-year $14 million deal is not cheap. And one thing that you notice about the Rams, what they did with Ndamukong Suh, though, it's a 1-year deal. So it's some deal that most likely will not alienate Aaron Donald, because he realizes, hey, okay, if Ndamukong Suh, you're not paying him beyond. I mean, I have 1 year left on my deal. Granted, he does want that new contract now, but if anything, if he gets pushed off to the next offseason, they most likely will not. I don't know if they will bring back Ndamukong Suh. I don't know how they'll make it work. But Aaron Donald is obviously priority because Ndamukong Suh is on a 1-year contract instead of a multi-year contract where he would be with them long term and possibly affect the money they could offer Aaron Donald. And you see with a lot of the moves the Rams have made, they have guys for 1-year deals or 2-year deals. Like Marcus Peters, I believe he's here for 2 or 3 more years at a cheap rate, and that would line up his free agency period to be on the same year as Todd Gurley. So the Rams have this window that they're not taking time off to be like, okay, well, we can sit back and rest with these young guys and hope that we just continuously improve. No, they're going after the top premier talent regardless of personality issues that have been surrounded with these guys. They're going after top tier talent, and they're hoping that the coaching and culture of Sean McVay, Wade Phillips, most notably Wade Phillips, who has brought out the best in defensive players when he's been the defensive coordinator. His defenses have normally ranked in the top 10 each of the last 5 years. This Rams defense was the one defense that, particularly in the running side of things, they did not perform at their best. But Wade Phillips is normally able to pull out the best out of defensive players. And you see that he got the best season out of Aaron Donald that garnered Aaron Donald winning a Defensive Player of the Year award. So you see that the Rams is putting this collection of talent together. While it does, like I said earlier, it doesn't ordain you a Super Bowl, because you have other teams like the reigning champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. You see them making moves as well. It's not like they sat back on their laurels. They went out and got Michael Bennett. Now, the situation with him, I don't really know what is going to end up happening there, but you see they're not sitting back and being comfortable on the talent they had last season. The team does look very similar to what it was last season, but they're going out and making moves, getting more players. And that's what winning teams do. You see the Minnesota Vikings, they knew their one weak spot was quarterback. They're aggressive in the offseason, go out and get Kirk Cousins. Now, they're a team that can be vying for a championship. And if I honestly had to rank the teams in order of who I believe has the best odds to win the Super Bowl, even if I had to rank the teams in the NFC in terms of order of probably most likely to win a Super Bowl, I'd have the Eagles first because they're the reigning champions, so I have to show them that respect. And the fact that they have continuity coming from last year, and they're not bringing a major overhaul of pieces, more so, but they're adding one big piece into what they already have there, so it's a lot easier to gel together. Then I have the Vikings because they got the one piece literally that they needed to make it all come together. The one piece. Kirk Cousins is better than Case Keenum, yet Case Keenum got them to the NFC Championship. So you can only imagine what it'll be next year when Dalvin Cook comes back and they have more healthy. They're a more healthy roster. Who never knows what injuries you will incur throughout the season, but having that quarterback position solidified gives you a big boost going into the next season. Then third, I'd probably have the Rams right there because Seattle lost players. They're definitely going to take a step back. And then I know Green Bay is there, but I don't feel like the Green Bay's additions essentially put them on that scale with the Rams and the Vikings. And I know Aaron Rodgers is, like I said, he's right up there with Aaron Donald in terms of who's the best player in football. But you need more around you. I mean, he lost his favorite target this offseason in Jordy Nelson. So I'm in that wait-and-see mode to see how things more so weigh out for the Packers. I know they'll be one of the best teams in the NFC with Aaron Rodgers, but I need to see more for them. I need to see them add more in terms of defense, in terms of offensive running ability for Aaron Rodgers before I'm ready to take them over a team like the Rams that showed, hey, we were a young, inexperienced team last season. We wrote off an 11-5 season, and we're right there with the reigning NFC champions in the Atlanta Falcons in that playoff game. Now they're coming back with a more experience. Think about it. Sean McVay was a rookie head coach, the youngest head coach in NFL history, and he's had more success than any rookie NFL head coach. So you see what he pulled off in his rookie campaign. Now imagine, got a year under his belt. He has more camaraderie with these guys. These guys know each other better in the locker room, and now you're bringing in a lot of talented guys. You're bringing in some veterans into the locker room, because some people were even saying how Sean McVay was younger than probably only two guys on the roster, and Sean McVay's about 31 years old. So actually, he is 31 years old, I believe. So now you're bringing in more aged guys into the locker room that have some value and some traction within this league. You can only imagine what that'll do for such a young locker room, and especially some guys that do have playoff experience, and Aqib Talib being a Super Bowl champion, a former Super Bowl champion. You can imagine what he can add to that locker room. Now I know that it is a lot of personalities to manage, but it is manageable. A lot of teams have a lot of personalities. Seattle Seahawks had a team with a lot of personalities, and if you ask some people, I mean, they were managing it well, but the thing that happened, it just that the team changed after they lost that Super Bowl to the Patriots. After they elected to throw the ball on the goal line and did not run Marshawn Lynch, that team was changed ever since that season. And then after they made the decision to trade away a lot of the pieces on their offensive line to go get Jimmy Graham, that changed the identity of that team. And they moved from a direction of beast mode into Russell Wilson territory. But this Rams team, I feel like they have a lot of things going in their direction right now. I mean, they're the most talented team in their division. We have to see how it all comes together. But if I had to place my chips right now on a team to win the NFC West at the least, I have the Rams. And if I had to put money down for who's going to the NFC Championship, I mean, I'd probably have the Rams going against the Eagles or the Vikings. In all honesty, it'd have to be one of those two teams for me, just in my personal opinion. And I see that on a talent standpoint, the Rams, they're even still pursuing Odell Beckham Jr., so we don't even know what the end result of this team is going to look like by the time the season starts. Like, just imagine that. You have the Defensive Player of the Year on the line. You have another multi-first team defensive lineman lining up right next to him. And Wade Phillips' 3-4 defense, where Ndamukong Suh is going to line up as the nose tackle, Aaron Donald's going to line up as a 3 technique, and you're going to have Michael Brockers on the other end as a defensive end. Like, that's just an insane line. Quarterbacks are going to have if you want to throw the football, and then you have Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib out there buying these guys times to get to the quarterback. And it's going to result in a lot of rush throws because quarterbacks aren't going to be able to there's going to be a lot of pressure on them from that defensive line. And then on the back end, you're going to have Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters playing lockdown defense on whatever wide receivers you have out there in the backfield. So when you think of all the capabilities this defense has, it's just mind-boggling how much better this team could be if it all gels the right way and Sean McVay can perfectly manage all the personalities on this team. I think it's definitely something everybody should look forward to. And I'm excited to watch the Rams, honestly. I'm very excited to watch the Rams this upcoming season. Without a doubt, I've been a Rams fan since I even understood the game of football, and I'm coming from an objective place. Don't think a lot of this is just fan talk. I'm talking about all this from an objective place, because this could be an utter disaster if the personalities don't work as well. But I don't think that these guys they all have something to play for. And I think that's when you pull the best out of guys, when they all have something to play for. Ndamukong Suh, next, he has to prove that he's that same defensive guy, because when he went to Miami, he was still good, but he wasn't Detroit Lions Ndamukong Suh. So Ndamukong Suh has another contract he's playing for. He has 1 year on this contract. So remember, next year he's playing for another contract for himself, and to prove he's still that defensive guy. Marcus Peters, he's playing for a contract in the next year or so. Or 2 years. So when you see that, and then Aqib Talib also playing for more value and standing within the league and a contract in himself. So all these guys are have something to play for. They have something to prove. If they go get Odell Beckham Jr., he would have something to play for. He has to prove himself after coming off an injury and coming off a year where he didn't get to play at all, and now he has to prove himself as to why did the Giants let you go? Like, are you the same guy? And you have to prove that you are that same guy. You can still bring what you brought to the Giants to another team, and that you're not a distraction. That's a lot of what these guys have to prove. If they move on to other teams, they have to prove, hey, I'm not a distraction. I'm a team guy, and I can make it work on a football team. All right, y'all, that's it for the KBR Sports Podcast tonight. Hopefully everybody got a chance to tune in. Remember, if you ever wanted a central location where you can find all Brendan Abin content, you can find that at my new website, brendanabin.com, which is spelled BrendanAbban.com, which has episodes of the podcast, my blog, and other content you can only find on brendanabin.com. So make sure you go check it out. And also follow and subscribe to the KBR Sports Podcast on Ravel TV, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. That way you'll receive notifications whenever the KBR Sports Podcast is streaming live or when a new episode is posted. Also, follow the KBR Sports Podcast on Twitter at KBR_sports, where links, topics, and podcast updates are tweeted. And finally, and most importantly, make sure you comment, like, and share your favorite episodes of the KBR Sports Podcast to give your opinions on any topic and to show your support for the show, which is always greatly appreciated by myself and everybody else that contributes to this show. All right, everybody, make sure you have a great day. Tune into other episodes of the podcast, and make sure you go and give your feedback on every single episode that you enjoy, and to give your feedback on what you think the Rams are going to be with Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib. And do you think that adding Odell Beckham Jr. would be a good move for the Rams, or would it be too many cooks in the pot for them? And do you think that it could be a combustible situation if they were to make such a big move? All right, everybody, have a great night, and don't forget to comment. All right, bye.